Part 2. I can't believe we're married, honey. Look at us, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks. Megan said, her fingers twisting the engagement and wedding rings on her finger. She admired the diamond in the light. I love how it sparkles. You chose well, honey. Ryan kissed his wife softly, smiling. Thanks, honey. Megan glanced at the clock. They'll be here soon. Honey, can you get the steaks grilling? Ryan nodded, stepping outside. He grabbed the barbecue and set it up on the lush grass, surrounded by an in-ground pool. Modest, but the finest he could afford on a lieutenant's wage. The doorbell rang, and soon Michael and Amy were at the door. Amy smiled, hugging Megan, then Michael. How are the happy couple? Megan asked warmly. We're doing fine, Michael said, his voice light. Where's the big dog? Michael asked. Ryan's out back cooking up a storm, Megan added with a smile. Michael smiled, kissed Amy on the cheek, and headed outside. He spotted Ryan immediately. Hey, Lieutenant, I see you can cook too, Michael joked, crossing the lush lawn. Ryan grinned, hugging Michael. Hello, my friend. Want a drink? There's soda in that ice tub over there. Michael grabbed 2 sodas and handed one to Ryan. He paused, looking around at the yard, the in-ground pool, and the view of Shadow Peak. This is nice, sir. I mean, you've got yourself a pool, a nice view of Shadow Peak over there. I love it. Ryan smiled, pleased. It's nice here, and you don't have to keep calling me sir. You're my best friend, Michael. Michael chuckled and said, Yes, sir, with a grin as he popped open his soda can. Ryan turned his attention inside and saw Amy. So, you're still seeing Amy? Michael didn't hesitate. Yeah, man. I love that girl, but I know she's only 17. I get that, but hey, I'm only 21, right? Ryan nodded thoughtfully. You don't have to convince me. It's the captain I'd be worried about. Michael smiled, a bit more relaxed. Me and the captain, well, we're cool, man. We're tight. Before Ryan could reply, Ian walked toward them, holding a 6-pack of lemon soda. Started the party without me? Ian said, giving Ryan a playful salute. Ryan hugged him. Good to see you, man. How's life? Ian grinned. Life is great, man. And I've got a surprise for you all. Ryan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What surprise? Michael, always quick to joke, chimed in. What, you gotta news it? Ian smiled, shaking his head. Haha, you're so funny. Ryan turned the steaks, steam rising into the air. Well, you know how I went to Japan for my 2 weeks off, right? Ian continued. Michael nodded. Yeah, and didn't you go for some geeky communication expo? Ian said, Yes, as a matter of fact I did, but while I was there I met an amazing gal. Michael's eyes lit up. Did you now? You sly dog. Good for you. What's her name? Ryan giggled. Ian pulled out his phone and showed a photo.
Mia.
I got a photo of her. Ryan peered at the photo, which showed Ian and a beautiful woman, both smiling in a photo booth. That's Mia and me in Kayomura. She's gorgeous, man, I'm telling you. Ryan nodded. She looks nice, man. Ian beamed. Thanks, sir. Michael leaned forward. Show me. I want to look. Just as they were about to crowd around the photo, Willie entered the backyard with his trademark grin. Look at you 3. What's going on here? Ryan walked over and hugged Willie. Hey, my man. Willie snapped to attention. Sir. Willie reporting for pool party, sir, he said with a laugh, and the 4 men shared a warm embrace. Inside, Megan was talking with Amy and now Lucy. Lucy, nearly finished with her training at the police academy, was sipping her coffee. I don't know how to tell him, Lucy said, her tone uncertain. Megan turned to her, concerned. So, you really are getting transferred? Can you do anything about it? Lucy looked around at Megan and Ryan's house, her eyes lingering on the family photos displayed around the room. She smiled faintly. Yeah, I could leave the force, but I don't want to. And I don't want to leave Willie. He's so good to me. I love him, you know? Megan smiled and gave Lucy a hug. Oh, honey, it must be hard on you. Lucy wiped tears from her eyes. Dinner was soon over, and all the guests went home. Ryan lay in bed, looking at the ceiling. I am the luckiest guy in the world. I got the prettiest wife a man could ever have. Megan giggled. Ryan continued, I got some crazy friends, but I dearly love them all. He paused. Did you hear Iman got himself a lady in Japan? Megan said, No, I didn't. Do tell. The two continued to talk into the night. 15 minutes later, Mount Wilson loomed in the distance, its peak shrouded in thick clouds. Darn it, can't see the summit, Ryan muttered under his breath. Garceau keyed the radio. Base, this is Blades 198. We have reached Mount Wilson, but we're in low visibility conditions. Can you give us more information on the climber's location? Base replied, Blades 198. The climber's last position was western side of Mount Wilson, altitude 900 meters. Garceau said, Roger that, western side, 900 meters. Ryan brought the helicopter towards the western side. Fog crept in. Low visibility caused mayhem. I can't see a thing, Garceau, Ryan said. Garceau, smiling. It's all right, kid. You're doing great. Just keep the bird steady. We'll find him. Ryan said, Jacko, pop the door and look for this fella, will ya? Jacko replied, Yes, sir. Opening side door. The side door slid open, revealing a breathtaking view of thick layered clouds. Jacko looked. I can't see anything, sir. Ryan replied, Keep looking, he's there somewhere. Ryan continued flying for 9 or so more minutes, hovering in and out near the cliff, trying to locate the stranded climber. Suddenly, Jacko's voice rang out. There, sir. I see him. He pointed through the open door of the helicopter. Below, a lone climber huddled on a narrow cliff edge, the sheer drop just inches away from him. Look at that fool, Garceau muttered. How did he even get there? Ryan shook his head. I don't know, Garceau. Ryan then said, Jacko, get ready to winch Sass. Jacko rubbed his hands together. This is going to be fun. Ready to go out in the cold, Sass. Sass was already adjusting her harness, clipping onto the winch. Let's do it. Ryan steadied the helicopter, maneuvering it closer to the stranded climber, the wind howling outside as rain now began to fall. Ryan shouted, Winch when safe to do so. Jacko replied, Aye, sir. Winching about to commence when safe to do so. Jacko said, Lowering Sass down, sir. Ryan replied, Roger that, lowering Sass down. The team was working well. Jacko said, Sir, pull right 5 degrees, sir. Ryan said, Right 5 degrees. Jacko brought Sass lower and lower towards the victim stuck on the cliff. The climber waved their hands. Yeah, we see you idiot, said Garceau. Ryan smiled. Why do people get stuck up here? I will never know. Garceau said, Because they're idiots, that's why, Brooksy. Meanwhile, back at Captain Grayson's house, Michael and Amy sat on the couch, their hands entwined. The living room was cozy, filled with model helicopters, cars, and the occasional ship, Captain Grayson's proud collection. Alice walked in, carrying a tray of coffee for everyone, except for Amy, who didn't like the taste. She placed the cups gently on the rustic timber coffee table, the fireplace ablaze as now it was cold as winter was setting in. Thank you, Mrs. Grayson, Michael said, offering a polite smile. Alice smiled warmly. It's Alice, honey, not Mrs. Grayson. Captain Matthew Grayson sat next to Alice, sipping his coffee as he watched Michael and Amy sitting close together. Amy was smiling, but Michael looked a bit nervous. Mommy, Daddy, Amy began, squeezing Michael's hand. We have some news. Captain Grayson mumbled under his breath. Oh, dear Lord. Alice nudged him, raising an eyebrow. Matthew's phone vibrated, but he ignored it for the moment. So, what's the news? He asked, curiosity in his voice. Michael cleared his throat. Well, sir, ma'am, Amy and I have been seeing a lot of each other, and before he could continue, Amy blurted out, We're getting married. Alice dropped her biscuit in shock, and Matthew nearly choked, spitting his coffee across the table. You're what? He exclaimed, his voice rising in disbelief as he shot to his feet. Amy stood, too, her face flushed with emotion. We're getting married, Daddy. Aren't you happy? Alice stared at her daughter in disbelief. Married? Amy, sweetheart, You're only 17. Matthew's expression darkened, his fists tightening.
No.
You're not getting married. I forbid it. Amy's eyes filled with tears. But Daddy, I love Michael with all my heart, and we want to stay here with you and Mommy, so he doesn't have to be far from work. Before Matthew could respond, his phone rang again, its shrill sound cutting through the tension in the room. Frustrated, he pulled it out and answered. Hello, Captain Grayson. His face changed in an instant, his calm demeanor slipping away.
What?
When? Who's up there? His voice dropped, his eyes widening. Brooksy, and who? He swallowed hard. Garso as well. Oh, dear Lord. Alice grabbed his arm, her eyes narrowing in concern. Amy and Michael exchanged worried glances. Michael caught the name Brooksy. That was Ryan's call sign. Matthew paced the floor, his phone pressed to his ear. Okay. Send and search Team Delta now, with Bravo as backup if needed. I'll be right there. He snapped the phone shut, his jaw tight with determination as he looked at his family. I'm sorry. We'll talk about this later. I have to go to the base. Alice frowned, her eyes full of concern. Matthew, what's wrong? His face was grim. It's bad, honey. We have a missing helicopter. It was a long day. Delta teams searched tirelessly for Blades 198. Captain Grayson was now in command of the Uerc Operations Center. The room was chaotic. Ian was at the communications desk, pushing back tears. His best friend Ryan was missing. Grayson stood over a massive map spread across the war table in the middle of the room. Where the hell are they? He muttered, his fingers tracing their last known position. The wreckage of the helicopter was scattered across the base of Mount Wilson, smoke rising into the air. Garso was slumped in the pilot's seat, unmoving. His face was bloodied, his body still. He was gone. Ryan gasped for breath, his broken arm throbbing with unbearable pain. He cradled it against his chest, struggling to make sense of what had just happened. 1 minute, Jacko had been lowering SAS, then the warning lights had flashed, the winch got tangled in a tree, and everything went black. Now, Garso was dead. Jacko was missing. Ryan choked back a sob, reaching out with his good hand, shaking Garso's shoulder. Sir, wake up. Come on, sir, please. His voice cracked, desperation leaking into his words. Sir, don't do this. Come back to us, sir. But it was no use. Garso was gone. Tears blurred Ryan's vision. He sobbed, but then, through the haze of pain, smoke, and wreckage, he heard a faint voice. Sir, please help me. Ryan froze, wiping his eyes. He listened again, heart pounding. The smoke made it hard to see, the swirling debris disorienting him, but he forced himself to focus. Sir, please someone help me. It was SAS. Ignoring the pain, Ryan slid off his shattered helmet, dumping it in the cockpit, gritted his teeth, and unbuckled himself. Every movement sent fresh waves of agony through his body. He staggered forward, hunched over, blood seeping from a deep gash on his arm. His uniform was torn, singed at the edges. Through the wreckage, near a thick patch of bushes, he found her, SAS, lying on the ground, clutching her side. SAS, he called out. Her head jerked up, tears streaking her face. Sir, you're alive. Relief flooded through them as best it could, both injured, both in pain. Ryan helped her sit up, leaning her against a tree. Nearby, the rescued climber also lay deceased. What happened, sir? SAS winced, gripping her ribs. Ryan shook his head, still dazed. I don't know. 1 minute, Jacko was on the winch, then it got stuck in the trees, and the next, we were falling. He clenched his jaw. It all happened so fast. SAS swallowed hard, then hesitated. And Garso? Is he? Ryan couldn't hold back the emotion anymore. He simply nodded, his face twisting with grief. He's dead, SAS. He's gone. A broken sob escaped her lips, and Ryan lowered his head, his body shaking. Oh God, what have I done? He whispered. SAS, through her own pain, reached up and pulled him close. It's not your fault, sir. It was an accident. For a moment, they just sat there, clinging to what little strength they had left. Sass wiped at her eyes, then fumbled for her phone. The screen was cracked, her hands trembling, but she could still see a faint signal. She didn't waste a second. She pressed 991, the direct emergency assistance line to Uerc base. Meanwhile, at the operations center, Captain Grayson stood over the map, his finger pressed against their last known coordinates. His jaw was tight, his heart pounding. Ian suddenly shot up from his seat, his voice breathless, urgent. "I got them, sir. I got them." The steady beeping of machines filled the hospital corridor, blending with the voice over the intercom. "Dr. Roberts to sick bay. Dr. Roberts to sick bay." Ryan stirred, his body heavy with painkillers, his head clouded in a groggy haze. His vision was blurry, but he could feel warmth near him. As his senses slowly returned, he realized Megan was there, her head resting on his bed. "Honey," he mumbled weakly. Megan's head shot up, eyes wide with relief. "Nurse. Nurse, come quick. He's awake," she called out before grabbing Ryan's hand. "Hello, my darling," Ryan murmured, his voice thick with medication. His brow furrowed. "What happened? Why are you here?" Megan blinked, wiped the tears from her eyes, confused. "Ryan, you don't remember?" The nurse entered, smiling kindly. "Welcome back, sir. You had us all worried." Ryan looked puzzled. "Where have I been, Lieutenant?" The nurse chuckled. "I'm not a lieutenant yet, sir, but maybe one day." Before Ryan could respond, Dr. Roberts stepped in, a sharp but gentle doctor known for his calm demeanor. He checked Ryan over thoroughly, murmuring reassurances. The painkillers pulled Ryan back into unconsciousness, and he slept through the day. The next morning, Ryan was fully awake, eating breakfast in his hospital bed. His right arm was in a cast, bandages covering abrasions above his eyes. Despite the discomfort, he was grateful to be alive. Megan had spent the night in a makeshift bed beside him. Ryan turned his head and smiled. "Hello, honey." Megan stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. "Hello, my darling. You stayed here all night?" She nodded, squeezing his hand. "You're never allowed to leave me again. Ever." She playfully tapped his nose and kissed his forehead. Their moment was interrupted by a soft knock at the door. Captain Grayson stepped in, removing his cap. "May I come in?" Megan smiled warmly. "Matthew." She stood and embraced the captain. Grayson returned the hug. "Mrs. Brooks, I see you've been taking good care of our lieutenant here." Ryan attempted to sit up straighter, groaning as he did. "Sir." "Easy, son. No need for formalities." Grayson hesitated, glancing at Megan. "Megan, I hate to ask this, but could I have a word with Ryan alone?" Megan looked at Ryan, then back at Grayson. She nodded. "Of course, Matthew. I'll go grab a coffee. Would you like one?" Grayson shook his head. "No, thank you, ma'am." Megan kissed Ryan's hand. "I'll be right back, honey. Love you." "Love you too, baby," Ryan said groggily. Once she was gone, Grayson exhaled and twirled his cap between his fingers, clearly uneasy. "Mind if I sit?" "Please do, sir," Ryan said. Grayson leaned forward. "Ryan, I'm sorry to do this now, but we need to go over what happened." Ryan swallowed hard. "You want to know what I remember, don't you, sir?" Grayson gave a soft, understanding nod. "Yes, son." Ryan shut his eyes, forcing himself to relive the crash. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Well, sir, we were tasked to find a lost mountain climber. We were coming into Mount Wilson, sir." Garso asked base for more details on the climber's location. Ryan stopped and wiped his eyes. "Garso is dead, sir, isn't he?" Captain Grayson placed his hand on Ryan's arm. "Yes, son." Ryan wiped his eyes and sniffled, holding back the tears. Grayson said quietly, "Can you please go on? Please tell me what happened." Ryan nodded and continued. "Well, sir," Jacko yelled, "I got him." And Sass got strapped into the lowering rig. Jacko lowered her down, and she secured the climber in the harness. Then Jacko said, "I'm raising them up, sir." Ryan paused, gripping the sheets as his breath became unsteady. I steadied the chopper. Next thing I knew, Jacko was yelling, "They're stuck, sir. They're stuck. I can't get them out." Then it was like the chopper lost power. His voice caught, his hands trembling. The next thing I remember, I woke up at the bottom of Mount Wilson with Garso. His voice broke. Garso beside me. Tears streamed down his face as the weight of his words settled in. Grayson stood, placing a steadying hand on Ryan's shoulder, his expression one of quiet understanding. Ryan swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. And Jacko? Have you found Jacko, sir?" Grayson hesitated, his jaw tightening. "He's gone, son. We found him near the crash site." The words hit Ryan like a punch to the gut. His entire body shook as sobs overtook him. "It's my fault, sir. Garso, Jacko, I killed them. It's all my fault." Grayson's voice was firm, but filled with compassion. "Son, we don't know whose fault it was yet. But blaming yourself isn't going to help you, or them." Ryan wiped at his eyes, his breath ragged. "I'm done, sir, aren't I? I mean, I'm out of UERC, aren't I?" Grayson hesitated, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, son. I honestly don't know." At that moment, the door creaked open. Megan returned, a coffee cup in hand. She froze when she saw Ryan wiping his tears, her heart sinking at the sight of him so broken. Grayson gave her a small nod, his face unreadable. "I'll leave you two alone." Without another word, he turned and walked out. As soon as the door shut, Ryan's control shattered. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders heaving. "I killed them, honey. I killed Jacko and Garso. It's all my fault." His voice broke into a desperate sob. "Why didn't I die? Why them?" Megan's heart ached as she set the coffee aside and climbed onto the bed, wrapping her arms tightly around Ryan. "Oh, Ryan," she whispered, holding him as he wept. "You're here for a reason, baby. You didn't choose this, but I'm here. I'm not letting you go through this alone." Ryan clung to her, grief racking his body, guilt threatening to drown him. Megan just held him close, refusing to let him fall apart alone. 2 days later, Ryan sat on the deck chair, staring at the pool, its surface rippling as insects dipped in and out of the water. His eyes wandered to the mountains in the distance, the clouds gathering around the peaks. Flashbacks of the accident consumed his mind. He didn't know how long he had been lost in thought when he heard a car pull up outside. He didn't care to see who it was. A knock at the door broke his daze. Megan answered and called over her shoulder. "Please, what a lovely surprise. He'd love to see you." Ryan didn't move, still staring out at the mountains, nursing a broken arm. Soft footsteps came toward him. Slowly, he turned around and stood. Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson stood in the doorway. Ryan burst into tears. "Staff Sergeant, Corporal Jackson?" he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. They both stepped forward and embraced him. Together, the three of them cried, and Megan joined them, holding Ryan close. "I can't believe you came to see me, Staff Corporal," Ryan said through his tears. Lopez smiled. "It's Mary, not Staff," she said, ruffling his hair. Ryan gave a shaky smile. "Mary, huh? I never knew that." Mary shrugged. "I don't tell the recruits my real name, sir." Ryan's smile widened. "It's not sir, it's Ryan." Mary laughed, popping open a soda can. "Well, Ryan, this is a lovely place you've got here." She gestured to the view of the mountains in the distance. "We love it here, don't we, baby?" Megan said, squeezing Ryan's hand. Ryan smiled softly as Megan clapped her hands. "I have a great idea. You both better be staying for supper." Mary looked at Frank, who smiled. "Why not? My wife is out tonight, taking the kids shopping." Mary laughed. "Well, my husband will be fine for one night. I'm sure of it." Megan stood up, grinning. "Excellent. I'll go prepare supper." Mary smiled at her. "I'll help you with that." Mary and Megan went inside, chatting about interior decorations, while Frank placed his hand on Ryan's shoulder. "It wasn't your fault, Ryan," Frank said softly. Ryan shook his head, tears falling. It was Corporal, Frank. I was the pilot in command. My crew, my helicopter, they were my responsibility. And now they're gone, and Sass, well, I don't think she'll ever fly again. Frank squeezed his shoulder. No, Ryan, it wasn't your fault. Everyone knows it was Jackson's fault. He got the winch stuck in the trees. He's the one who brought you all down. Ryan slowly wiped his tears and shook his head. It's over, Corporal. I'm not going back up. I can't. It's just over. Frank looked him in the eyes, unwavering. Ryan, you were my favorite recruit. I still see so much potential in you. Yes, the accident was horrible, and it's something you'll never forget, but it wasn't your fault. No one blames you. Ryan looked away, his voice breaking. No, Corporal. I'm putting in for a discharge when I go back. It's just over. Frank pulled Ryan into another hug as he sobbed. From the window, Megan and Mary watched, their hearts heavy with worry. Megan whispered, "Oh, my baby." Mary, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder, said softly, "He'll be okay. Just give him time." 3 days later, Ryan stood outside Captain Grayson's office. "Are you ready, sir?" Staff Sergeant Lopez asked, her voice low and steady as they waited outside Captain Grayson's office. "Yes, Staff Sergeant," Ryan whispered, his nerves apparent. "Yes, let's do it." Staff Sergeant Lopez gave him a reassuring smile, placing her hand briefly on Ryan's shoulder. "You've got this, sir." She knocked firmly on the door. "Come in." Captain Grayson's immediate response echoed through the room. Lopez and Ryan marched in, stepping crisply to attention. They halted in front of the desk, and with military precision, both saluted Captain Grayson and the 6 other members of the panel seated behind their desks. The room was formal, lined with the sharp, serious faces of the board. Captain Grayson, who was seated at the head of the table, motioned for them to stand at ease. "Lieutenant," he began, his tone businesslike, but not unkind. "We've reviewed the evidence surrounding the crash. I'd like you to recount the events for us." Ryan's throat tightened, but he steadied himself and began, his voice trembling as the memories flooded back. I was in the cockpit when it happened. The winch line got caught in the trees, and the helicopter, it went down so fast." His voice broke as he recalled the images, the sound of metal grinding against rock, the screams of his crew. Captain Grayson nodded, acknowledging the pain in Ryan's voice. He glanced down at his notes before speaking again. "We've also interviewed Sergeant Johnson call sign Sass, who was on the other end of the winch. Her account correlates with yours, Lieutenant." The captain stood slowly, the room quiet as all eyes turned toward him. He looked Ryan in the eye, his expression serious, yet empathetic. "Lieutenant, this is not your fault. The board has reviewed all statements and evidence, and we find no fault in your actions or your flying. What happened was a tragic accident. Yes, a preventable one, but not caused by your hand." Ryan's chest tightened as he absorbed the captain's words, the weight of them slowly sinking in. Captain Grayson stood and took a step forward, placing a firm but reassuring hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Once you've healed from your injuries, you'll return to aviation. You'll undergo flight operations again. There is no disciplinary action recorded, only the fact that this was an accident, and you were not at fault." The captain paused, letting the words settle in the quiet room before continuing. "This hearing is now closed. You are dismissed, Lieutenant." Staff Sergeant Lopez nodded to him, signaling him to salute. Ryan and Captain Grayson exchanged a final, respectful salute before Ryan turned and walked out of the room, wiping tears as he went. Later that evening, Ryan sat beside Megan, his voice low as they watched TV together. "I don't know, baby. I want to stay, but I can't," he said, his words filled with uncertainty. The soft glow of the screen illuminated their faces in the cozy room. Megan shifted closer, wrapping Ryan's arm around her as they settled in. "If you don't want to, what else do you want to do, honey?" she asked, her voice gentle. Ryan paused, uncertainty in his eyes. "I don't know yet." His phone buzzed on the table beside him. He picked it up and glanced at the screen. What's he up to?" Ryan muttered, his brow furrowing. Megan glanced at him, curious. "Who's that, honey?" she asked. Ryan smiled slightly. "Michael. He said he needs to speak to me urgently. He's coming over." Before Ryan could even put his phone back down, the headlights of Michael's car illuminated the driveway. "Man, that was fast," Ryan remarked, his voice filled with surprise. Later, Ryan and Michael sat outside on the back patio, the clear night sky overhead. "I'm sorry to drop by like this, man," Michael said, his voice heavy with emotion. "After everything, the accident and all, I needed to see my best friend." Ryan smiled softly, grateful for the visit. "Of course, man. Anything for you. So, what's going on?" Michael took a deep breath, his eyes red, and then he broke down. "She left me." Ryan's heart sank. "What? Amy dumped you?" "Yeah, man," Michael replied, his voice shaking. "Out of the blue. Just said it was over. She said it was too complicated." "Oh, man. I'm really sorry about that," Ryan said sympathetically. "I knew you loved her." Michael chuckled bitterly. "It's funny, man. After everything we've been through, the recruit school, our jobs, women." He paused. After a moment of silence, Michael's expression grew more serious. "Listen, Ryan, when they brought you into the hospital, I was there. But they wouldn't let me in. Then, when I came back to check on you, they said you'd already been discharged. Between work and life, it was hard to get up there, man. But believe me, I was there." Ryan met his friend's eyes and nodded. "It's okay, man. You're my best friend. I believe you." The two men exchanged a warm smile, the weight of their years of friendship clear between them. After a beat, Ryan changed the subject. "So, I hear there's a new female pilot in aviation. Did you check her out yet?" Ryan asked, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Michael grinned. "Oh, I've noticed." For weeks had passed since the accident, and Ryan was healing well. He still hadn't returned to work. "I think it's a great idea, honey," Megan said, glancing over at Ryan as she cooked breakfast. He was nearly healed now, doing push-ups on the kitchen floor with his shirt off. "You love the outdoors. When's this supposed to happen?" "Next Saturday, I think," Ryan replied, pausing briefly to catch his breath. Megan flipped the pancakes and raised an eyebrow. "Who's going on this adventure?" Ryan smiled. "Well, there's Corporal Jackson, Ian, Wiley, Michael, and me." Megan laughed. "You got Corporal Jackson to come along?" Ryan shrugged, a grin on his face. "I had nothing to do with it. It's all Wiley's idea. He's the chief planner for this operation." Megan tilted her head, still amused. "So, where is this so-called operation happening?" Ryan's smile widened. "Bracken River Campground." "Bracken River?" Megan echoed, her voice filled with curiosity. "Isn't that the place known for its wilderness? No civilization for miles?" "Yep, that's the one," Ryan confirmed. "A wild retreat. It's perfect." Megan raised an eyebrow. Her curiosity piqued. "And what's the special occasion? Why the big trip?" Ryan continued with his push-ups, a chuckle escaping him. "I think the guys just want to make me feel better. That's what Michael said, anyway." Megan nodded, her expression softening. "It'll do good, honey. Just be careful, okay? Don't go doing anything silly." Ryan flashed a playful grin. "Of course not, babe." It was Saturday morning when Ryan woke up at 5 a.m. Wiley and the crew were supposed to arrive soon. He was packed and ready, so he hauled all his gear out to the garage, popped the door open and waited. Before he left, he sneaked inside the house and picked a red rose from the garden, leaving it with a love note beside Megan's bed. It read, "I love you, darling." Wiley's car pulled into the driveway, blasting some heavy rock and roll music. "All right, men, get out," Wiley shouted with a laugh. It was just Wiley and Michael in the car. "New truck, Wiley?" Ryan asked as he spotted the shiny vehicle. "Yes, sir." Wiley smiled and saluted Ryan, though it was more of a half-hearted attempt. Next, Corporal Jackson's car rolled in, with Ian riding shotgun. The men got out and gathered on Ryan's front lawn. "Okay, let's get this party started," Wiley said enthusiastically. "Ryan, come ride with us. It might be a bit safer than going with them," Corporal Jackson offered. Wiley grinned. Oh, Corporal, how could you? My driving is wonderful. Yes, wonderfully bad, Corporal Jackson shot back, a grin spreading across his face. I heard about your parking incident outside the front office. Something about a garbage can and a letterbox. Wiley slapped his knee, laughing. Yes, Corporal. I did hit a garbage can, dragged it down the street, and ended up collecting the captain's mailbox along the way. Ryan burst into laughter, wiping tears from his eyes. All right, that's it then. I'm going with Corporal. See you guys there, Ryan said, still chuckling as he smiled. The trip to Bracken River was spectacular. The winding road snaked around the tall mountains of Timber Bluff, passing through a small mountain town that seemed frozen in time. Nothing had changed in what felt like 100 years. I need a pee, Corporal, Michael announced, breaking the silence. Corporal Jackson raised an eyebrow. What? We just stopped an hour ago. Corporal, I need to go, Michael insisted, shifting in his seat. With a sigh, Corporal Jackson pulled the car over to the side of the road. Wiley's car followed behind, and soon the men were all standing along the roadside, taking care of business. However, things took a comical turn when Wiley, oblivious to his surroundings, stepped into a patch of ants. The insects quickly swarmed up his legs, biting him fiercely. Wiley began rolling down the hill, screaming, Help! Help! You fellas stop laughing. The others couldn't contain themselves. Ryan laughed so hard that tears streamed down his face. He yelled, calling Uerc medevac. Wiley, now covered in ant bites on his lower body, shot back. Haha, sir, real funny. Corporal Jackson, shaking his head, said with a smirk, I told you we should have stopped. The night had grown quiet, the campfire crackling as the men relaxed under the vast, starlit sky. Ryan leaned back against a log, letting out a satisfied sigh. Man, I needed this. Me too, Ryan, me too, Corporal Jackson replied with a grin. Wiley, still itching from his ant bites, bit into his steak burger and looked over at Corporal Jackson. So, Corporal, who was your favorite recruit when you had us? Corporal Jackson didn't hesitate. It wasn't you, O'Neill, he blurted, causing an uproar of laughter from everyone around the campfire. Wiley found it especially funny and laughed the hardest. Corporal Jackson continued, I try not to have favorites. When you get a class, you treat everyone the same. But you'll know the ones who actually want to be there and the ones who made a bad choice in life. Ryan stopped mid-bite, his eyes lighting up. That's it, he said with excitement, pointing at Corporal Jackson. What's that, Ryan? Corporal Jackson asked, a bit puzzled. Ryan grinned, his face practically glowing with enthusiasm. I want to join the training squad. The group fell silent for a moment, then exploded with laughter. You want to leave aviation, probably the best job in Uerc, and join us gritty trainers? Corporal Jackson asked, barely containing his amusement. Wiley shook his head in disbelief. No way, Ryan. What's a trainer gonna do? He said, giving Corporal Jackson a knowing glance. Sorry, Corporal, no offense, Wiley added with a smirk. Corporal Jackson smiled and winked. Well, you better sleep with one eye open tonight, recruit, he joked, making the entire group laugh again. Ryan chuckled. No, I'm serious. That's what I want to do. Do you think they'll have me, Corporal? Of course, Ryan. They'll have you with open arms, Corporal Jackson replied, his voice full of encouragement. In fact, they need an overseeing officer, he added with a wink. Ryan's face lit up with determination. That's it. That's what I'll do. Wiley rolled his eyes and looked at Ian and Michael, who were all laughing. Dear Lord, can you imagine the recruits we're going to get now with Ryan on the loose? He joked. The men laughed so hard they were nearly in tears. As the night went on, Corporal Jackson looked around the campfire and said, All right, who's up for a game of Night Walker? Ian raised an eyebrow. Night Walker? What's that, Corporal? It's easy, Corporal Jackson explained. One man stays here with a flashlight, and the rest of us try to sneak back to camp. The man with the flashlight has to spot any intruders. The last person standing or crawling wins. Wiley jumped to his feet. I'm in. I'll be here at camp. He grabbed a nearby flashlight and flicked it on, making sure it was nice and bright. Ryan yelled, "You're on!" Corporal Jackson and Ryan quickly hid, disappearing into the dark woods, while Ian slipped off into the trees. Michael, ever the goofball, climbed up into a nearby tree to get a good vantage point. Wiley sat by the fire, flashing his torch into the dark woods. Every time he heard a noise, he would immediately shine the light in that direction. Ryan, from a hidden spot, would throw rocks in different directions to spook Wiley, making him flash the torch all over the place. It was hilarious, with the whole group watching in the dark, trying to contain their laughter. At one point, Corporal Jackson whispered to Ryan, "Are you serious about joining us in training?" Ryan responded, "More than ever, Corporal." Corporal Jackson smiled and said, "You'll be a welcomed addition, sir," slapping Ryan on the back. "Thanks, Corporal. Let's go creep in the shadows, shall we?" The game dragged on. Wiley stood guard for over an hour, his eyes darting around the dark woods. No one had been caught yet. In fact, Michael had even fallen asleep in the tree. Ryan and Corporal Jackson kept up their quiet conversation about future training endeavors while the others tried to sneak up on Wiley. Eventually, Wiley grew impatient and muttered, "Come on, ladies. I ain't got all night. I want to go to bed shortly." After another half hour, no one had been caught, and the game was starting to feel like it might never end. Finally, Wiley sighed. "This is boring. I'm going to bed," and zipped himself into his sleeping bag, drifting off to sleep. Meanwhile, Ryan and Corporal Jackson stayed up all night talking, not a wink of sleep between them. Michael, still in the tree, woke up in a daze and nearly fell out. The next morning, the campfire was still smoldering, and Wiley woke up with a start. Ian was standing nearby, grinning. "I won. I won, fellas," he yelled. Ryan and Corporal Jackson chuckled, exchanging looks as they laughed while walking back to camp. Once they arrived, Ryan and the corporal quickly got the fire relit and started making campfire pancakes. "Oh man, these are beautiful," Ian said, stuffing his mouth with 3 or 4. "Glad you like them," Corporal Jackson said with a laugh. Wiley wiped his mouth and asked, "So, Ryan, were you serious last night? Are you really joining training?" Ryan looked at the corporal and nodded. "Yeah, I am. I'm putting in for a transfer when I get back on base Monday." The corporal slapped Ryan's leg. "You'll be a great addition to the team, Ryan." Wiley scratched at his bug bites. "I might join training as well, Corporal." The walk back was filled with laughter, between Wiley's jokes, his exaggerated stories, and Michael dramatically reciting love poems for Amy. The group couldn't stop chuckling. Ryan looked around at his friends and felt truly blessed. He had never imagined he'd have such a great group of people in his life. All too soon, the trip came to an end. As they said their goodbyes, Corporal Jackson shook Ryan's hand while dropping him off in his front yard. "I'll see you Monday, sir," Ryan said. "You will indeed, Frank. You will indeed," the corporal replied with a smile. Wiley, Ian, and Michael pulled Ryan and the corporal into a quick hug before stepping back. Just then, Megan appeared at the front door, eyeing the group of dirty, sweaty men standing in her yard. She waved goodbye to them before turning her attention to Ryan. Now alone with Megan, Ryan couldn't contain his excitement. He turned, pulled her into a hug, and without thinking, kissed her. She wrinkled her nose playfully. "Oh, honey, you are a smelly boy, aren't you?" Ryan laughed. "Honey, I have the best news. I got it. I really did." Megan saw the enthusiasm in his eyes and smiled. "Well, what is it, honey?" Ryan grinned from ear to ear. "I'm joining the training unit." Monday arrived with the sun gleaming off the nearby peaks. The morning air was still, crisp with the scent of pine. Ryan's car rolled smoothly into the base, tires crunching lightly over the gravel as he pulled into his designated spot. He stepped out with purpose, boots polished to a mirror shine, uniform immaculate, his service ribbons neatly displayed above his right pocket. His cap was squared perfectly on his head, his face freshly shaven. A nearby lawnmower buzzed to life, and grass trimmer teams moved methodically across the grounds, keeping the base in top shape. Leaves rustled around his feet as he paused for a moment, eyes sweeping the familiar surroundings. He took a deep breath. Was he making the right choice? Without another thought, he made his way to the administration building. The sun caught the edge of his cap as he climbed the steps. Reaching the commander's office, he stood tall and knocked firmly on the door. "Come in," came the firm but welcoming voice from inside. Ryan marched in, standing tall as he saluted Commander Grayson. "Good morning, Lieutenant. How may I help you?" "And stand at ease, please," the commander said, looking up from the steaming cup of coffee on his desk. Ryan relaxed his stance. "Sir, I'm requesting your approval to transfer. I'd like to leave aviation and join the training unit." Commander Grayson set his coffee down, a smile forming on his face. "That's a marvelous idea, Ryan. We actually need an overseeing officer for our recruits, and I can't think of a better man for the job." Ryan grinned. "Thank you, sir." The commander leaned back in his chair. "Would you like a coffee, Lieutenant?" "That would be wonderful, sir." "Thank you, sir." Commander Grayson called for his receptionist to bring Ryan a coffee, then gestured for him to take a seat. The two men settled into the room, sitting across from one another. "So, training lieutenant, what makes you want to take on this role?" Ryan took a moment before answering. "Sir, I loved being a recruit here at UERC. If I can bring that same enthusiasm to the new recruits, I believe they'll be more well-rounded and confident. I'm not saying they aren't already, sir, but I'd love the chance to contribute to their growth." Just then, the receptionist entered with Ryan's coffee. He nodded in appreciation. "Thank you," the commander continued. "As the overriding officer of all training, you'll meet with me once or twice a week, attend all recruit functions, and act as my delegate. The task is tedious and rather busy. Are you up for that challenge?" Ryan smiled. "Yes, indeed I am, sir." The commander said, "The previous officer left to join the police as their lead officer, so I've been desperate for someone to fill the role. I'm very pleased you came into my office today. Pleased indeed." He leaned over and offered Ryan a biscuit. Ryan smiled and took one. "Thank you, sir. If you're serious about this, I can sign the paperwork today. You'd officially start right now, though we'd need a day to process everything. But your office is already vacant. You can move in immediately. After coffee and biscuits, we'll go take a look." Ryan's eyes widened. "I get my own office, sir?" The commander chuckled. "Yes. It's just down the hall to the left as you enter. We'll be close." "Fantastic, sir," Ryan said, smiling. Grayson's expression turned more serious. "Of course, this position comes with a promotion to captain. A pay raise and free travel are included as well." Ryan's eyes widened even further. "You're offering me a promotion, sir, to captain?" The commander took a sip of his coffee. "Of course, Lieutenant. It's yours if you want it. It is a captain's role. You'll also have a seat at the staff table with me." Ryan could hardly believe the opportunity in front of him. He would be the overseeing officer for all recruits on the UERC base. He'd be in charge of corporals and sergeants, have his own office, a company vehicle, a promotion, and a direct line to the commander. This was more than he had ever expected. The commander leaned forward and extended his hand. "So, do we have a deal, Captain?" Ryan shook the captain's hand firmly. "Yes, sir. Indeed, we do." Commander Grayson beamed with excitement, but then shifted into a more serious demeanor. "Ryan, I need to ask you something personal while I have you here." The commander looked out the door. "Can you please close the door, Ryan?" Ryan got up quickly and shut the door. Ryan straightened. "Sir, are you okay, sir?" The captain took a deep breath. "Yes, I am, Captain," the commander smiled. "However, Ryan, I know this Michael fellow has been seeing my daughter. I also know he was a groomsman at your wedding. What's your take on him?" Ryan hesitated. "Sir, he is my best friend, a real fine fellow. But there's one thing I should tell you." "Go on, Ryan," the captain urged. "Well, sir, we just went camping with him and a few of the guys, and all Michael could talk about was, well, your Amy, sir." Commander Grayson's expression hardened. "Oh, did he say much about Amy, if you don't mind me asking?" Ryan nodded. "He told us Amy broke things off with him, but he still loves her, sir. He even said he wants to marry her." The captain looked puzzled. "Broke it off with him? Did she really?" "That's news to me." Then, To Ryan's surprise, the captain's mood suddenly lightened. All right then. Would you like to see your new office, Captain? Ryan grinned. Yes, please, sir. Both men stood, handing their empty cups to the receptionist. The commander unlocked a door, then placed the key in Ryan's hand. This is all yours, Captain. Thank you, sir. Ryan couldn't believe it. Ryan's eyes widened as he stepped inside. The office was incredibly spacious, featuring a large leather couch, a polished wooden coffee table, and a grand wooden bookshelf behind a massive timber desk. A luxurious executive leather chair sat behind the desk, and there was even a private bathroom with a shower. A large computer screen sat on the desk with a modern-looking computer system dormant. Wow, sir. This is amazing. Thank you, Ryan said. The commander chuckled. Take a look around. I'll be back in a moment. Ryan felt like a kid in a candy store. He opened every drawer, ran his fingers along the bookshelf, tested out the leather chair, and even peeked inside the bathroom. Soon, Commander Grayson returned. Ryan, I'd like you to meet Sally. She's our head receptionist here at Command, and she'll also be your personal assistant and secretary. If you need anything, you ask Sally. Sally stepped forward, offering a polite smile. Hello, sir. Ryan extended his hand. Hello, Sally. The commander nodded. Thank you, Sally. You're free to go. Thank you, sir, she replied before walking out of the office. The commander handed Ryan a set of car keys. Ryan, this is for you. The car is parked around back. It's all yours. Thank you, sir, Ryan said, taking the keys. The commander nodded again. It also has a fuel card. Just pay for all your fuel with that. Thank you, sir, Ryan replied once more, his gratitude evident. The commander glanced around the office before turning back to Ryan. So, will this do for you, Captain? He smiled. Oh, yes, sir. I love it. Thank you, sir. You've been so good to me, Ryan said enthusiastically. The commander gave him a firm look. You earned every bit of this, Ryan. I've also told Sally to have your name on the door by this afternoon. Ryan smiled. Thank you, sir. The commander gestured toward the desk. That telephone is yours, Ryan. Make as many calls to your staff or family as you need. I won't keep a record of it, just no international calls, the commander smiled. Ryan smiled. Of course not, sir. The commander scratched his head, then added, Oh, and by the way, I just organized it with Sally. We'll be having a morning tea in the auditorium tomorrow morning. Please invite your wonderful wife. I'm certain my Alice will be attending as well. We'll be introducing you to the staff. Ryan smiled. Yes, sir. I'll let Megan know shortly. The commander shook Ryan's hand again, then saluted. All right, Captain. I'll go to your paperwork immediately and tell the flyboys they've lost you. You're mine now, he said with a grin. Ryan smiled. Thank you, sir. The commander nodded. I'll get on with my day. I'll see you tomorrow in the auditorium at 9 a.m. sharp. After that, we'll move you into your office. As for today, I'd like you to walk through the recruit accommodation blocks, introduce yourself to everyone, and let them know you're the new captain, the new overseeing officer. Meet all the staff and provide me with a full report of what you see on my desk by 4 p.m. this afternoon. Ryan smiled. Yes, sir, he said firmly. They saluted, and the commander went on his way. Ryan didn't have a moment to breathe before there was a polite knock on the door. Excuse me, sir. As you know, my name is Sally, and I just needed to go over tomorrow's function. Who will you be inviting so I can arrange the table settings? Ryan sat behind his new desk, with Sally seated across from him. It will be my wife, Megan Brooks, he said politely. Is that all, sir? Sally asked. Ryan smiled. Please call me Ryan. Sally smiled but shook her head. Sorry, sir. Even as a civilian, I am to address your rank. Ryan chuckled. Very well. Sally stood. Thank you, sir. I have much to do. Yes, thank you, Sally. Very nice to meet you. Ryan smiled. As Sally left the office, Ryan sat back in his chair, soaking in the reality of his promotion. I'm a captain, he mumbled. A real captain. I have my own office, a car out back. I wonder what kind of car it is. After a moment, a thought hit him, Megan. I need to call her. Meanwhile, Megan was at home, sitting on the couch, laughing and crying at the same time. Her phone rang from an unknown number. "Hello, Megan speaking." "Hi, honey, it's me," Ryan said. "Oh, honey, I'm so glad you called. We need to talk," Megan said quickly. "I know we do," Ryan replied. Both of them spoke at the same time. Megan blurted, "I'm pregnant, honey." Ryan said, "I just got promoted." They both froze. "Wait, you got promoted?" Megan asked. "Wait, you're pregnant?" Ryan blinked. Then silence. Ryan broke it. "You first, honey." Megan started crying again. "Honey, we're going to have a baby. I just did all the tests. I'm pregnant. Can you believe it?" Ryan was in shock. "No, I mean yes. That's wonderful, honey. That's truly great news." Tears welled in his eyes as he sobbed in his chair. After Megan composed herself, she asked, "So, you got what? A promotion, was it?" Ryan smiled. "Honey, your news is the best, but I need to tell you what happened here." He told her everything: his new office, the car, the promotion, and, of course, the morning tea happening tomorrow. Then he said he loved her and couldn't wait to be home. Ryan soon left his office, locked it up, and placed the key in his pocket. He walked around the back of the office block to find a near-new 2024 white SUV. He hit the unlock button, and the car's lights flashed. "Man, oh man, this is Flash," he mumbled. A squad of recruits marched past with a sergeant yelling, "Left, right, left, right." They saluted Ryan, and he saluted them back. He got into the car and hit the push-button start. "Oh wow, this is fancy," he laughed. Later, Ryan walked through his old accommodation block. It was within these walls that he had been a recruit just over 2 years ago. It seemed like yesterday when he, Ian, and Michael shared a room. In a sense, he missed those days. Now, he was the officer in charge of the entire recruit program, with his own staff complement, from corporals to staff sergeants. The reality hadn't fully set in yet. Ryan knocked on Corporal Jackson's door. Jackson was eating an apple and reading the newspaper during his break. He didn't look up. "What is it, recruit?" Ryan laughed. "Captain Ryan Brooks, wishing to speak to Corporal Jackson, Corporal." Jackson yelled, startling the recruits mopping the hallway. They looked toward the room. Ryan stood with a smile. Jackson sprang to his feet, nearly falling off his chair. "Sir." "I'm sorry, sir. I was on a break, sir." He saluted sharply. "You're a captain, sir?" Ryan smiled. "Yes, Corporal. Just got promoted." Jackson shook his hand. "Congratulations, sir. Well done." Ryan saluted back, and they both sat down, laughing together. "So, what brings you to our humble accommodation block, sir?" Jackson asked. Ryan looked around, then into the corporal's eyes. "I'm the new captain overseeing training, Corporal. So, you and I will be working closely together." "That'll be awesome, sir," said Jackson. "I'm so glad you're here, Corporal. You and Staff Sergeant Lopez were always my favorite people." Just then, Staff Sergeant Lopez walked into the room. "Do I hear my name, sir?" she asked, saluting. Ryan stood and saluted back, then quickly embraced her. "How lovely to see your smiling face," Ryan said. "I just heard you'd been promoted to captain, sir, and now you're overseeing officer. Us mere peasants," she joked with a smile. "Well, news travels fast around here, doesn't it?" Lopez grabbed a chair, and the three of them reminisced. "I can't believe it, sir. You're head of the entire training program." Lopez beamed. "I think I found my calling, Staff," Ryan said. Their chat was interrupted when Corporal Martin Hayes walked in, dropped his books on the table, and sat down for lunch. Lopez barked, "Corporal, you have an officer in the room. Salute." Ryan stood. Hayes hesitated, then quickly saluted. Ryan smiled and extended his hand. "You can shake it, Corporal. I won't bite." "Yes, sir." "Of course, sir," Hayes said nervously. "Relax. Have your lunch." "Don't mind me," Ryan said, turning back to Lopez and Jackson. "It's great to see you both. I'm guessing you'll be at the morning tea tomorrow?" Jackson blinked. "What morning tea?" Lopez smirked. "I'll let you know. I just found out about it, too." Ryan laughed. "Well, I can't wait to see both of you there. Lopez, Jackson, and Hayes saluted. Won't miss it, sir, said Lopez, with Jackson giving a wink. Ryan looked Hayes up and down. Next time I see you, Corporal Hayes, your shirt will be tucked in properly, won't it? Hayes jumped. Yes, sir. I will indeed tuck my shirt in, sir. How is it I have to remind you of dress standards in my accommodation blocks? You've been warned, Ryan said. Corporal. Ryan smiled. All right. Jackson, Lopez, please join me as I address the recruits. Yes, sir, Lopez replied. Do you want me to come as well, sir? Hayes asked. No. I need you here to take your lunch break and get yourself squared away, okay, Corporal? Yes, sir, Hayes replied. Ryan, Lopez, and Jackson walked down the corridor. Lopez leaned in. We need to get rid of him, Ryan. He's not good here. You mean Martin? Ryan asked. Lopez nodded slowly. Yes, sir. Ryan glanced around and changed the subject. What fond memories I have here. I bet you do, sir, Jackson replied. If it wasn't for you two, I never would have made it out. I'm forever thankful, Ryan said, then straightened. Right, enough of this emotional stuff. Call a hallway parade, please. Jackson barked. Parade. Out now. Recruits poured from their rooms, snapping to attention, except for recruit Calloway, who lazily strolled into the hallway. Jackson's eyes flared. In the press-up position, he roared. Not you, recruit. You stand and watch what you did to your teammates. Calloway stood awkwardly as the others dropped and struggled through push-ups. Their gasps echoed in the corridor. After 40 grueling reps, Ryan shouted, That's enough. Stand tall. The recruits sprang to attention, sweaty and winded. Ryan stepped up to Calloway, inches from his face. If I ever hear or see that again, you'll be fronting me in my office. Do I make myself clear, recruit? Yes, sir, Calloway said, his voice shaky. Then a grin crept across his face. Ryan's tone dropped. So, you think it's funny, do you? Staff Sergeant Lopez snapped. That's it, recruit. I've had enough of you. Ryan turned to her. Call the police. Get this man out of my sight. Yes, sir. Lopez nodded grimly. She and Jackson escorted Calloway to a nearby room, leaving Ryan with the rest. I will not tolerate disobedience, he said, voice firm. I trained here. I earned my place. And so will you. If you ever have problems, speak to your staff. They train me. They know their stuff. But if you disrespect them, or me, God help you. He let the silence sit. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, the recruits shouted. Just then, Corporal William Wiley O'Neill approached with a salute. Sir, how are you, sir? I'm well. Thanks for asking, Corporal. We're here to take recruit Calloway as ordered. Permission to proceed. Ryan nodded. Please. I'll be up at the station shortly to speak with him. O'Neill and his partner led a now subdued Calloway out. Ryan turned to Lopez. That's all for today, Staff Sergeant. See you in the morning. Yes, sir. Ryan returned her salute, then headed toward the women's accommodation block. Inside, Corporal Grove snapped to attention. Morning, sir. Ryan saluted. A nearby recruit mopping the floor did the same. Great job on the floors, Ryan said. Thank you, sir, Patricia replied. Sergeant Pitt and Corporal Holloway appeared and saluted. Welcome, sir, Pitt said. Didn't know you'd be by. Ryan smiled. Call a hallway inspection, please. Yes, sir. Hallway 106, ladies. 10 female recruits stood smartly outside their doors. Ryan walked the line. I see nothing but potential here. Floors are immaculate. I train next door. Ours never looked this good. You've got great staff, clearly. Thank you, sir, the recruits chorused. Let's inspect a room, Sergeant, said Ryan. Anderson, Gibson now. Pitt ordered. The two recruits rushed to stand beside their beds as Ryan and Pitt entered. Great work, ladies. Very tidy. Ryan picked up a pair of boots. We want to see your face in the polish. Best kid on parade, right, Sergeant? Absolutely, sir. Back in the hallway, Ryan addressed the group. Don't let your standards slip. Before you know it, you'll be marching on graduation parade, wondering where the time went. Keep it up. He saluted Pitt. Carry on, Sergeant. And thank you. Ryan left the barracks and headed for the base police station. Outside, patrol cars and a 4x4 gleamed in the sun. Inside, Corporal O'Neill saluted again. Hello, sir. Hey, Wiley. Congrats on holding the fort.
Got a minute?
Always. Also, heard about the promotion.
Congrats.
Thanks. Barbecue this weekend? Ryan grinned. Also, I need to tell you. They both snapped to attention as Sergeant Blackmore entered. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Sergeant. I'm here for Recruit Calloway. Right this way, sir. They reached the holding cell. Calloway sat on the bed, wiping his eyes. On your feet, recruit. Salute. Blackmore barked. Calloway scrambled up. Ryan returned the salute. Stand easy. Sergeant, open the door. Yes, sir. Ryan stepped inside and gestured to the bed. Sit. He pulled a chair close, meeting Calloway's nervous gaze. I am Captain Brooks. I know, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Calloway said. Ryan softened his tone. I accept your apology, but you're in serious trouble. Calloway broke. This is all I've got, sir. If I get kicked out, I've got nowhere else to go. Ryan removed his cap, held it in his hands. Why the laziness and that stupid grin, Calloway? I'm a joker, sir. It slipped out. I didn't mean it. Ryan sighed. You embarrassed a staff member during inspection. What if next time it causes real harm? I didn't think, sir. I'm sorry. Ryan looked over at Blackmore, ribbons gleaming, face unreadable. Then back to Calloway. Look at me, son. Calloway slowly met his gaze. I'm keeping you here for another day. You'll follow every order the officers give. If you mess up, even this much, he pinched his fingers together, you're gone. You're not kicking me out now, sir? Ryan shook his head. I haven't made up my mind about you, Calloway. But this is your last chance. Calloway wiped tears from his eyes. Ryan continued. You will report to my office tomorrow at 3 p.m. Sergeant, can you make sure he's there on time? Yes, sir. We'll be early, Blackmore replied. Ryan stood. Calloway, you need to get a grip on yourself. This is a man's world. It's not playtime, and it's not for boys. Either grow up or you're gone. I'll see you at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Ryan turned to Sergeant Blackmore and saluted. The sergeant barked, Recruit salute. Calloway stood and saluted Ryan, who returned it before walking out of the police station. As he passed Wiley, he winked and mouthed, see you soon. Sally had done an exceptional job. Not only was she the receptionist, but she also handled Commander Grayson's and Ryan's public relations. Today, she had truly outdone herself with the morning tea. The tables were elegantly arranged, each adorned with fresh flowers. Soon, corporals began to trickle in, followed by a few sergeants and, of course, Staff Sergeant Lopez. She took a seat next to Corporal Jackson at a table, accompanied by the new corporal, Martin Hayes. Captain Grayson was seated with his wife Alice, and Megan sat beside her. Ryan was close by. Sally stepped onto the stage and spoke into the microphone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked by Commander Grayson, she glanced at him, and he nodded back with a smile, to be the MC for this morning. She smiled warmly. Today, we're here to acknowledge our newest captain and the new overseeing officer of the Uerc Training Division, Captain Brooks. The room erupted in applause, and Ryan smiled as Megan squeezed his arm, smiling at her husband. I'd now like to ask Commander Grayson to the platform, Sally announced. More applause followed as Commander Grayson walked onto the stage and stood at the podium.
Thank you, Sally.
And by the way, everyone, Sally was the one who organized everything here today, so let's give her a big round of applause. The crowd clapped heartily. Sally blushed and sat down at the commander's table. The commander continued, First, I want to welcome all of you here this morning. I am proud to announce the promotion of Lieutenant Brooks to Captain Brooks. And as Sally said, Captain Brooks is now the overseeing officer of the Uerc Training Division. Sergeant Lopez looked over at Ryan and smiled. Ryan smiled back. Corporal Jackson winked and Ryan grinned. I knew Captain Brooks when he was a recruit just over 2 years ago, the commander said. He showed exceptional leadership even back then, becoming a lieutenant upon graduation. It's not unheard of, but it's not common for a recruit to go from civilian to officer so quickly. Captain Brooks, you've come a long way in a short period, and I'm very proud of you. Ryan smiled and nodded. At a nearby table, Sergeant Blackmore and Corporal Willie O'Neill and Michael sat sipping coffee. Willie was beaming for his friend. Michael giving Ryan a quiet thumbs up. This promotion is well-deserved recognition for a young man who has truly earned it, the commander continued. I know you'll do a fine job overseeing our most valuable assets here, our recruits and our incredible staff. So please welcome Captain Ryan Brooks to the stage. The commander gestured for Ryan to come forward. Megan let go of his arm, smiling. Go get him, Captain, she whispered. I'll be right back, honey. Don't go anywhere, Ryan replied with a grin. The crowd gave him a standing ovation as he walked up. His uniform was immaculate. He saluted the commander, who returned it. Ladies and gentlemen, the commander said, it is my great honor to promote Lieutenant Brooks to captain. By placing these epaulets on him, we acknowledge his hard work and dedication. Let's show Captain Brooks how much we appreciate him. Applause erupted again. Megan stood up, encouraging the others also to stand up. She began recording the event on her cell phone. As the commander placed the epaulets on Ryan's shoulders, the room cheered. May I introduce to you, Captain Brooks, the commander declared. Ryan grinned, soaking in a moment. Willie, Michael, and Ian applauded wildly. Ian said, I'm just a corporal, and Ryan's already a captain. Michael laughed. Next thing you know, he'll be commander. That's not as silly as it sounds, Ian replied. Ryan took the microphone and Sally snapped a few pictures. Thank you, Commander. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like the luckiest man in the world today. I'm not one to talk much, but I'm honestly in shock that this has happened. First, I want to thank God for everything he's done in my life. Megan smiled proudly. I want to thank the commander for believing in me. The commander patted Ryan on the back with a smile. Sally snapped another picture. And I couldn't have done any of this over the past 2 years without my darling wife, Megan, who is here today. Thank you, honey. Ryan paused and looked at her. Honey, is it okay if I tell everyone? Megan nodded, wiping away a tear. At the back, Ian nudged Michael. Tell us what? Be quiet, I'm trying to listen, Michael replied. Well, Ryan smiled. Megan and I were having a baby. The commander clapped the hardest as the room burst into joyful applause. Alice embraced Megan and said, Well done. As the applause faded, a large photo of Ryan appeared on the white screen. Oh golly, I looked that bad as a recruit? Ryan joked. Everyone laughed as a slideshow of Ryan's career highlights followed. Megan snapped a few photos on her phone. Ryan turned back to the microphone. To my staff, I know how hard you all work to turn civilians into respectable, honorable people. None of this is possible without you. So, I'm introducing a few changes starting today. He took out a notebook. The commander leaned forward, curious. First, we're starting a Staff Member of the Month program. Each month, we'll host a morning tea like this to celebrate that person. Their name will go on a plaque that will hang in my office. And they'll receive a medallion for their service. He continued, We'll also introduce the Commander's Award, if that's okay, sir? The commander nodded. This award will go to the best recruit in each class, presented at graduation. Finally, I want to hold at least one staff camp per year, where those not on duty can bring their families for a well-earned break and time of refreshment. The staff murmured, one saying, I love it, and another, I can't wait. Ian smiled. I'm in. Ryan also said, It is my expectation to fast-track any promotions of my staff that haven't been processed. We haven't had a captain in this role for some time, and I'll speak with the commander about that. Once again, the commander nodded in approval. I will be inspecting the accommodation blocks weekly. To my wonderful staff, if you ever have any problems, please come and see me. My door is always open. If you can't come to me, I can always come to you if I can. He continued, I will also be having regular staff meetings starting tomorrow, so I'll notify you who's first up. Ryan added, If you indeed have a problem with a recruit or a disciplinary action, you'll bring them to me. We need to ease the pressure off our commander." The commander smiled and mumbled under his breath, "I like this already." With that, Ryan folded up his piece of paper. Megan was so proud of her husband, standing there as the new captain. Ryan concluded, "Commander, staff, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, well, that's all I have to say for now. Thank you, and enjoy the morning tea." Ryan left the podium, and the commander led another standing ovation. Walking back to the table, the commander shook Ryan's hand. Megan hugged Ryan, and he kissed her on the cheek. Sally took the platform again. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our speeches. Now, let's enjoy morning tea. Thank you for attending, and everything Captain Brooks has mentioned. I will be emailing everyone as soon as I get back to the office. Thanks again." Ryan leaned over and whispered into Megan's ear. "Well, that went better than I expected," his voice filled with gratitude and excitement. Megan nodded, still overwhelmed by the moment. "You are amazing up there, Han. I'm so proud of you." She squeezed his hand. Ryan smiled, his heart swelling with happiness. "I couldn't have done any of this without you by my side." He looked around at the staff chatting and laughing, enjoying the morning tea. And without all of them, too. As the crowd continued to mingle, the mood was light, with laughter and congratulations echoing around the room. Ryan knew that this promotion wasn't just a personal achievement, it was the start of a new chapter. A chapter where he would lead and make a difference in the lives of those around him. And as he looked at Megan, he knew he had everything he needed to succeed. Megan was soon surrounded by people wishing her and Ryan all the best, with the new baby on the way and Ryan's promotion. Ryan was busy shaking hands with his new staff. Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson grinned. "Don't forget us, Captain, in your fancy office," Jackson joked. Ryan smiled. "In fact, I'm going to meet with both of you in the morning. Do you have time? Can you leave the recruits with Hayes and come to my office at 10 a.m.? Lopez smiled. "Of course, sir." Later that evening, Megan sat down at the table, watching Ryan as he cooked dinner. "It's nice, just the two of us, honey," Ryan said, stirring the pot. "Between work and running around all day, I'm exhausted." Megan smiled, looking at him fondly. "Honey, I don't want you working so hard. I want to get a job as well." Ryan shook his head and chuckled. "No way, darling. You're working at being a mama. Just take it easy. I've got it covered." Megan leaned across the table, her gaze soft. "I love you, honey. Thank you for everything you do for us." Ryan smiled back, feeling the warmth of her words. "You're welcome, babe. You mean the world to me." Ryan was dressed in an army green t-shirt, his dog tag necklace hanging underneath, and navy blue shorts. As he sat down for dinner with Megan, she asked, "So, honey, tell me about your new job. Don't you miss flying?" Ryan smiled as he took a bite. "Nope, not really. I can come home every day by 5:15, no weekends unless there's a major problem. But the staff is pretty good at handling recruits." He paused, grinning. "I love it, honey. I've got my own office. By the way, when are you coming to take a peek?" Megan smiled back. "Can I really?" "Of course you can, honey," Ryan said. Megan raised an eyebrow. "Well, in that case I'll pop in tomorrow." She paused. "Tell me more about the job." Ryan leaned back in his chair. "Well, you met Sally. She's the commander's PR and secretary, but I don't think I'll need her much. She's got enough to do running after the boss. And, well, we get a car." "I know, but where is it?" Megan asked. "I'll bring it home tomorrow, honey," Ryan replied, scratching his head. "I've got 60 recruits under my command, plus about 10 staff. The commander's talking about ramping up recruitment. Instead of 60 recruits, they're thinking about 200. And they're considering just making a police recruit intake of 30 or so." "Why is that?" Megan asked. Ryan leaned in slightly. "The UERC is talking about opening a base in Upper Timber Bluff. Not too far from us, but more of an emergency base, I think. They may add a squad of police and some other communications. So there could be a lot more recruits to look after." Megan nodded, but then her expression shifted. Any troubles with anyone thus far? Only one, but I'll sort him out tomorrow, Ryan said calmly, thinking of Calloway and the police cells. Megan grabbed his hand. Be gentle, honey. You're always kind to people. Never forget that. It doesn't matter what rank you are. Ryan ate a few more bites of his dinner before Megan spoke up again. By the way, honey, I forgot to mention, we are invited to the commander's house tomorrow evening. Can we make it? Ryan nearly choked on his food.
What? Huh?
The commander's house. Megan slapped him gently on the back. Sorry, honey. I didn't tell you. Ryan caught his breath. No, it's fine. We can go. What's the occasion? Ryan asked. Megan smiled. Alice, you know the commander's wife. She's so lovely. She wanted to invite us over. I can talk to her about baby clothes, and you and Matthew can talk work. Ryan smirked. So you're on a first-name basis with the commander now? Megan smiled, her eyes twinkling. Yes, honey. I'm the captain's wife, after all. Ryan leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Oh, you are you? The next morning, before leaving for work, Ryan placed a rose on Megan's pillow with a note. Love you, my darling. He drove to work, stopping at a local takeaway for a hot coffee. Timber Bluff was cold this time of year, and a few homeless people waited around the truck stop, hoping for spare change. As Ryan walked across to the shop, he saw a young man, no older than 16. Got any change, mister? Ryan smiled and asked, You hungry, son? The boy's face brightened. My name's Sam, mister, and yes, I'm hungry. Can you please help me? Sam had his hand out for money. His gloves were ripped, and his clothes were shabby. Ryan gestured for him to come inside. Come with me, order whatever you want, and I'll pay for it. Sam hesitated, a little stunned. Really, mister? You would do that for me? Are you an angel? Ryan chuckled. No, not an angel. Come on, let's get you something. Ryan and Sam sat down in a small booth. Sam ordered pancakes and a sausage, but didn't want to overdo it. He felt embarrassed. So, can you tell me why you're by yourself, son? Ryan asked as he took a sip of his coffee. Sam looked at Ryan, his eyes downcast. My parents kicked me out, sir. Ryan shook his head. You don't have to call me, sir. I'm Ryan. Sam smiled slightly.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're the nicest person I know. As their waitress came to refill Ryan's coffee, he thanked her and gave her a $20 tip. She looked incredibly grateful. Sam watched Ryan's gesture and said, You truly are a nice person, Mr. Ryan. Ryan smiled back. Mr. Ryan, I like that. I might use it at work today. Sam glanced at Ryan's uniform. Are you in the army, Ryan? Ryan shook his head.
No, son.
I'm with the Uerc. It's like the military. We help people and do all sorts of things. Sam mumbled through a mouthful of food. Never heard of Uerc before. Ryan smiled. We're just a group of people who rescue others. Sam nodded quickly, finishing his pancakes. Ryan checked his watch. I'm sorry, Sam. I have to go to work, but can we meet up again sometime? Sam shrugged.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I live out back of the truck stop in my tent. Well, I don't even know whose tent it is. I kinda borrowed it. Ryan felt a wave of compassion for the boy. He reached into his pocket and pulled out $200. Open your hand, son. Sam hesitated before opening his hand, his eyes wide. Ryan placed the money in his palm. For you, Sam. Find a motel room. Buy some clothes if you want. I'll give you my business card. Call me sometime, okay? Sam's eyes bulged.
What?
$200? What for, Mr. Ryan? Ryan smiled warmly. For you, Sam. Take care of yourself. Sam hesitated, then asked softly, Can I give you a hug, Mr. Ryan? Ryan chuckled. Sure thing. The two hugged, Ryan not caring about the grime on Sam's clothes. He liked the kid and felt sorry for him. As Ryan left, Sam stayed behind, still in disbelief over the kindness he'd received. Ryan drove to work thinking about Sam, but he had another serious issue to deal with, recruit Calloway. Turning the corner, Ryan showed his ID to the base police and was waved through. It was still early, very cold, and foggy around the base. Ryan parked and walked into the office. The lights were on, but the commander wasn't in yet. Sally and Rachel, the receptionists, were already at their desks. They stood up as Ryan entered, greeting him with smiles. "Morning, Captain." Ryan returned the smile. "Morning, ladies. Rest easy," he joked. He noticed the new plaque on his office door in bold gold lettering. Captain Ryan Brooks. "Wow, great job." "Thank you, Sally. It looks wonderful." Sally beamed. "You're welcome, sir." "Would you like a coffee, sir?" she asked. Ryan smiled. "No, but how about I make you and Miss Rachel a coffee instead?" Sally protested. "Oh no, sir. You're not supposed to do that for us." Ryan chuckled. "Nonsense. I'm the captain. I can do what I want." He made coffee for them both and delivered it to their desks before stepping into his office. Sitting down, Ryan logged into the UERC database. "My goodness," he muttered, 100 emails.
He groaned.
By 9:50 a.m., Ryan was still slogging through emails from prospective recruits and staff. "Man, I need help with this," he thought. Just then, he heard voices from the reception area. "We're here to see Captain Brooks, ma'am," said Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson. Ryan's intercom buzzed. It was Sally. "I have Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson here. May I send them in, sir?" "Yes, please, Sally." Ryan quickly tidied his desk. As Lopez and Jackson entered, they saluted Ryan, and he returned the salute before shaking their hands warmly. Lopez even gave him a friendly hug. "Please sit." Ryan gestured to the leather couch. "What a nice office, sir," Jackson said, leaning back comfortably. Lopez sat beside him, both sipping coffee and enjoying some biscuits Sally had brought in. Ryan smiled. "It's not too bad, is it?" Lopez nodded. "Well, sir, you deserve it." Ryan's tone grew more serious. "Between you and me, I'm thinking about opening a new position for corporal and above as an assistant to myself. I'm drowning in paperwork, and it's only my first week." He looked at both of them. "Any of you interested?" Corporal Jackson answered with a grin and a bite of his biscuit. "Not me, sir. I want to try aviation again." Ryan smiled. "You mean officer school? Flying as a pilot?" Jackson nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "All right, Frank. Come back and see me tomorrow, and we'll chat further." "What time works for you?" Jackson beamed. "Yes, sir." "What time?" Ryan quickly checked with Sally, then returned. 10 a.m., please, Corporal." Jackson nodded. "Yes, sir." "Thank you, sir." Ryan tapped his computer thoughtfully. "Frank, I see you passed your sergeant exam but haven't had your pay increment or recognition yet." Corporal Jackson said quietly, "I know, sir. I've been patient." Ryan scribbled a note on his pad. "Nonsense, Frank. I'll get you your promotion this week, along with back pay from when you became sergeant." "I'm sorry no one caught this earlier." Frank smiled warmly. "It's okay, sir. Thank you for taking care of it." Ryan smiled back. "Of course, Sergeant." Ryan then turned to Staff Sergeant Lopez. "What about you, Mary? Interested in becoming my left-hand assistant? I could really use someone with your skills." Lopez blushed slightly. "Really? You'd want me, sir?" Ryan was sincere. "Of course, Mary." Lopez sipped her coffee slowly. "Yes, sir. I'd be very interested." Ryan smiled. "I'll work it out and let you know. But keep this between us for now." Lopez smiled. "I won't tell a soul." Jackson pretended to zip his lips and toss away the key, making everyone chuckle. Ryan's tone shifted again. "Mary, I saw Corporal Hayes marching about 4 recruits through the fog this morning."
Do you know what that was about?
Lopez exchanged a glance with Jackson. "Not sure, sir. Corporal Jackson and I started later today to prep for this meeting. Hayes said he had it under control." Ryan frowned. "So Hayes left with a handful of recruits, leaving 25 recruits unattended?" Lopez looked concerned. "It appears so, sir." Ryan sighed heavily. "After this meeting, we'll go to the accommodation block and get to the bottom of it. Mary, can you find out who the recruits were and what they were doing?" Lopez nodded. "Yes, sir." Ryan leaned back. This job is busier than I thought, and now with Megan. He trailed off. Lopez smiled warmly. I'm so happy for you both, sir. Ryan nodded, grateful. Thank you, staff. Jackson grinned. If it's a boy, sir, will you call him Frank? Ryan laughed. We'll see, Corporal. We'll see. Ryan, accompanied by Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson, walked into the accommodation block at 11:25 a.m. The meeting had taken longer than expected. Inside, Corporal Hayes was sitting at the officer's desk, eating a sandwich with his shirt untucked and boots unpolished. Staff Sergeant Lopez, seeing the situation, barked, "Attention!" Corporal Hayes scrambled to his feet, accidentally spilling breadcrumbs and dressing down his shirt, creating a mess on the floor. He quickly saluted Ryan, who returned the gesture. Stand easy, Corporal, Ryan said calmly. Please take a seat and clean yourself up. Sorry, sir, Hayes muttered, fumbling to clean up the mess. Ryan remained silent as Hayes attempted to tidy himself. Meanwhile, Staff Sergeant Lopez and Corporal Jackson went off to track down the 5 recruits who had been walking in the fog that morning. I was driving in this morning, Corporal, and I saw you with 4 or 5 recruits in the fog, Ryan said. Corporal Hayes smirked, clearly unbothered. It was real cold out there this morning, wasn't it, sir? He chuckled. Ryan, unimpressed, replied, Yes, it was. And foggy. I nearly ran you over. Hayes continued to smirk. Yep, really foggy, sir. Just then, Staff Sergeant Lopez entered the room with a piece of paper in hand. Here's the list, sir. Hayes glanced at Lopez and then back at Ryan. Ryan took the paper and read the names silently to himself. Standing up, he turned to Hayes. Corporal Hayes, please tell me why these 5 recruits were walking with you in the fog this morning. Corporal Hayes snapped to attention. Sir, I took it upon myself to teach these recruits some life skills, he said, almost proudly. You know, the old-school approach, getting them up in the cold, showing them what it's like. For those who need an attitude adjustment. Ryan's face tightened with frustration. This is unacceptable, Corporal. Believe me, this is not the last of this. Ryan calmed himself, then turned to Staff Sergeant Lopez. Sergeant, please call the hallway. Lopez nodded and stepped into the corridor, calling out, Hallway. Her voice echoed loudly. Within moments, all 30 recruits had gathered in the hallway, standing at attention. Ryan stood at the doorway, surveying the recruits. He turned to Corporal Hayes. Stand there and watch. Hayes stood, now facing the recruits, as Ryan slowly made his way down the polished floors. Ryan stopped before the recruits, his expression serious, as he scanned their anxious faces. Recruits, Staff Sergeant Lopez will call your names. If you hear your name, you will accompany me and Staff Sergeant Lopez to the corporal's office. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, the recruits responded in unison. Ryan nodded, then turned to Staff Sergeant Lopez. Staff, could you please read out the names on your list? Yes, sir, Lopez replied as she read aloud. Taylor, Jones, Smith, O'Brien, and Meldrove. Ryan gave a sharp nod. Right, those recruits will follow me. The rest, Corporal Jackson, they're yours. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Corporal Jackson shouted as the remaining recruits dispersed. Ryan led the 5 recruits into the corporal's office, where they exchanged nervous glances. Staff Sergeant Lopez, please close the door, Ryan said politely. Lopez obeyed and closed the door behind her, then took a seat while Ryan sat behind the desk. The recruits stood in front of him, tense. Ryan glanced at the list of names and addressed the first recruit. Recruit Taylor, where are you? I'm here, sir. A skinny, young recruit, no older than 19, spoke up. Ryan fixed his gaze on Taylor. All right, recruit. Please tell me what you were doing this morning out in the cold and fog. Taylor hesitated, clearly nervous. We weren't really prepared. The corporal called a hallway at 7 a.m., but we don't usually get hallways until 7:30. So, us 5. Well, we weren't ready for it. The corporal said, All right, you dogs, or I think he said dogs, sir. Get your joggers on and meet me outside in 5 minutes. It was a rush, sir. We barely got our joggers on before we were out in the cold. Ryan glanced around at the other recruits. Is that the truth, recruits? Yes, sir. Recruit Meldrove, a solid 23-year-old, spoke up. But it got worse, sir. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What happened, son? Meldrove swallowed before speaking. Well, sir, after we rushed to get our joggers on, the corporal marched us into the mess and ordered us to make him a hot cup of coffee. Ryan furrowed his brow. A cup of coffee? Yes, sir. A large one, Meldrove replied. Then the corporal took it outside, drank it, and told us how wonderful and hot it was while we stood at attention in the cold. Ryan's expression hardened with anger. Is this true, recruits? Yes, sir. They all confirmed. Go on, recruit Meldrove, Ryan urged. After that, sir, when the corporal finished his drink, he made us march down to the watercourse, the one past the parade ground, Meldrove continued. By this time, O'Brien's lips were turning blue from the cold. Ryan's gaze shifted to O'Brien, who looked pale and shaky. Are you okay, son? O'Brien nodded weakly. Yes, sir, I think so. I feel a bit lightheaded, sir. Ryan stood up. Recruits, please sit on the floor. He paused, his eyes scanning them as they settled on the cold ground. Meanwhile, outside the office, Corporal Hayes tried to eavesdrop without being seen, his figure lingering near the door. Recruit Meldrove, what happened next? Ryan asked, his voice calm but firm. Well, sir, Meldrove said, after we got in the water course, we couldn't even see each other because of the fog coming off the water. We were all shivering and freezing, and the corporal said we didn't live up to his expectations as Uerc recruits. He threatened to get us discharged if we didn't complete the course. Ryan's jaw tightened. I'm truly sorry, recruits, that you had to go through this. But I must ask, is there more? At that moment, Recruit Jones spoke up. Sir, after the water course, the corporal made us lie on our stomachs and crawl through the mud with all our gear. My gear's still wet, sir. Same here, sir, Meldrove added. All our gear is soaked. Will we be given a chance to dry it, sir? Ryan smiled, a reassuring look in his eyes. Of course, recruits. We'll get all this sorted out, and then we'll work on your gear. The recruits visibly relaxed at Ryan's words. He stood up, signaling them to rise. Then he turned to Staff Sergeant Lopez. Staff, can you please march all the recruits, and I mean slowly, to the hospital? I want them checked for any signs of hypothermia or other conditions from this morning's training. Yes, sir, Lopez responded. Ryan turned back to the recruits. Before you go, just so you know, I'm the new captain here. I oversee everything about your training. If you ever need to speak to me personally, run it through one of your staff. If it's necessary, they'll pass it on to me. Sir, I don't want to talk to that corporal, Meldrove said quietly. Ryan gave him a reassuring look. Don't worry, recruit. I'm about to speak to Corporal Hayes now. You're all dismissed. The recruits and Staff Sergeant Lopez saluted Ryan, and he returned the salute. Thank you, sir, the recruits said in unison as they filed out of the office. Staff Sergeant Lopez winked at Ryan, who smiled back. Ryan knocked on the commander's door. Come in, the commander called. Ryan stepped inside, saluted, and smiled. Good morning, sir, or should I say, good afternoon? The commander returned the smile. Good afternoon, Captain. What a pleasant surprise. I was just finishing up your captain's qualification paperwork. He held up the framed certificate. Thank you, sir, Ryan replied, glancing off. The commander noticed and gestured for him to sit. What's wrong, Ryan? The commander asked. Ryan hesitated before responding. Sir, we have a big problem. An hour later, Corporal Hayes knocked on the commander's door, accompanied by Staff Sergeant Lopez. Come in, the commander said in a stern voice. Quick march, 1-2-1-2. Lopez barked as they entered. Both Lopez and Hayes saluted the commander. Ryan was sitting next to the commander at his desk. The commander looked up at them. Corporal Hayes, I've received some very damning evidence this morning from Captain Brooks, as well as from Staff Sergeant Lopez, who accompanied 5 recruits to sick bay this morning following your actions. Do you know what I'm talking about, Corporal? The corporal smirked. Not really, sir. It was just a bit of reinforcement. I'm the corporal, and they're just recruits. The commander slapped his hand down on the desk, causing everyone to flinch. Ryan had never seen the commander this angry. They are not just recruits, Corporal. They are human beings who deserve our respect and dignity. Do you think you show them that respect, Corporal? The corporal maintained a smirk. Yes, sir. I always show them respect, sir. The commander's voice grew colder. Captain, over to you. Ryan stood up. Corporal, I interviewed the recruits. They allege the following. You woke them up early. You called them dogs. You marched them in the cold, foggy morning. You marched them into the mess hall where they made you coffee, which you drank while they stood at attention in the freezing cold, and you then took them down to the watercourse and, in the freezing cold, told them, get in or I'll discharge you. Is this correct information? The corporal's smirk faded. Well, not really, sir. You know how teenagers. Ryan stood with his arms crossed, glaring. You've got to be kidding me, Corporal. One of your recruits is in the hospital tonight with hypothermia, all because of your reckless actions. You're supposed to be responsible for these recruits. And let's talk about this. You left 25 recruits unattended while you marched 5 of them out into the cold. What were you thinking? The corporal shuffled his feet, clearly nervous. But, sir, we always leave recruits unattended. Ryan's voice hardened, cutting him off. Yes, Corporal, at night, when there's a roving police officer keeping watch around the base. But this wasn't the situation, was it? You're not getting off that easy. The corporal faltered, trying to find an excuse. Well, sir, it's just... Ryan wasn't having it. You're on very thin ice, Corporal. Let's start with your uniform, for starters. You walk around with an untucked shirt like it's a badge of honor. How are you supposed to be a role model for recruits when you can't even get your own act together? The commander, watching the exchange, shook his head in disappointment. Ryan continued, his voice rising. Then you go and pull this stunt with 5 recruits in the cold, putting them in harm's way. If one of them ends up in the hospital, it's on your hands. I'm done here. I want you on the commander's table within the hour. The commander stood up, his face unreadable. So it will be. He turned his cold gaze to the corporal. You better pray you still have a job when the day's over, Corporal. The corporal straightened, now realizing the gravity of the situation. Yes, sir. As the meeting ended, Corporal Hayes sat outside the commander's office, staring at his boots. Meanwhile, inside, the commander, Ryan, and Sergeant Lopez prepared a small room for what was about to happen, the commander's table. As Hayes sat in the hallway, 2 military police officers passed him, ignoring his presence as they made their way into the room. Ryan glanced at Hayes, his irritation simmering, and then entered the room, followed by the officers. The commander stood behind a wooden, pulpit-like table, several open notebooks in front of him. Ryan stood on the left, arms crossed, while Sergeant Lopez waited outside, keeping a watchful eye on the corporal. Hayes could feel the weight of the situation as he stood nervously with the military police officers. He glanced at Lopez, who looked unimpressed. I'm sorry, staff. I never meant for this to happen, Hayes muttered. Lopez shook his head. You've been sloppy since day one, Corporal. Hayes looked down, guilt written on his face. The commander's voice suddenly boomed. We're ready, Staff Sergeant. Sergeant Lopez responded firmly. Yes, sir. Hayes was marched into the small room, his footsteps echoing in the tense silence. He saluted the commander as he entered, and the commander gave a short nod in return. The military police followed, standing silently at attention. The commander's cold voice broke the silence. Corporal Hayes, do you know why you're standing before my table today? I think so, sir, Hayes replied, his voice lacking confidence. The commander glanced at Ryan, who nodded. Corporal, you are charged with negligence in the care of 5 recruits. One of them was treated for hypothermia in the hospital, and you left 25 recruits unattended during a structured training exercise. How do you plead? Hayes tried to keep his composure, but his smirk seemed out of place. Not guilty, sir. Ryan clenched his jaw but stayed silent. The commander, unimpressed, scribbled something in his notebook before continuing. Not guilty, huh? Well, I'll bring in Captain Brooks to explain what happened this morning. The commander's table was in session for nearly an hour as evidence was presented. Ryan spoke up, offering his testimony. Sergeant Lopez shared his concerns about Hayes' lack of diligence and disorganization. The 5 recruits who had been involved in the incident were brought in by base police to testify about their mistreatment and the way they had been neglected. After an exhausting hour of testimony, the commander looked at Hayes with cold, calculating eyes. Corporal Hayes, as of 3:15 p.m. today, your employment within the training department is terminated. You will remain a corporal, but you will be transferred out of Timber Bluff to a new unit at my discretion. As for the 5 recruits you mistreated, it will be up to them whether they choose to pursue legal action. The commander stood, his fury barely contained. Do you understand your findings today? Hayes, his demeanor unchanged, shrugged. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The commander, now livid, slammed his fist on the table. Get this poor excuse of a soldier out of my sight. Police, escort him off the base. Sergeant Lopez shouted. Corporal, salute. Hayes gave a half-hearted salute, which the commander returned with equal indifference. Within minutes, Hayes was marched out of the room, escorted off the base, and was never seen again.